Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we are talking about Tokyo, Japan, because I've just returned from a short trip there and I've bought lots of good things and I met up with lots of cool people. So today we are going to take a look at some of the things that I picked up and I'll talk you through all the places that I went vintage toy hunting. So let's get straight on with the video and I'll show you the first thing that I picked up. So it was day one in Tokyo for me and Mrs. Toy-polloi, and we headed down to a place called Diver City in Odaiba. It's a really fun place to visit because it has a life-size Gundam standing outside one of the shopping malls, so it's well worth taking a visit there. And it's also a really nice place just to hang out. There are lots of shops to look at, including a large Gundam store, but there is also a Toys R Us, and that's actually where I headed on the first day because I wanted to see what was available. And this is what I picked up. Now this is a Missing Link Transformers G1 Bumblebee, and I've been wanting to get one of these in my collection for ages, and I thought if I'm going to find it anywhere I will find it in Tokyo. It cost about £25, which is fairly expensive for a small toy, but it's, as I say, something that I wanted to get in my collection. This is a modern version of the G1 Bumblebee, which has much more articulation, so you can pose him fully, and yeah, it comes in this nice vintage style Japanese box. I will do a full review of this in time and actually compare it to the original Bumblebee because it's supposed to be really pretty good, and I'm actually quite excited to get this one open. So this was my very first pickup on day one, but it also turned out to be the first time I would bump into a fellow YouTuber. I'd actually arranged to meet up with Dan Larson from the YouTube channel Secret Galaxy the next day, but it turned out we were both in the same area. So when Mrs. Toy-polloi and I sat down for lunch, I happened to see Dan walking past, so went over and said hello to him. But as I said, we'd already arranged to meet up the next day, so that's exactly what we did. Day two, we'd arranged to meet Dan and head on down to the Shinagawa area to the Oi Racecourse Flea Market. I tend to go there every year because it is a really good flea market. This time we went on a Saturday, and I have to say it was probably even bigger than the normal days that we go on, which is the Sunday. There were just so many stalls and so many things to see. Dan and I had a real good rummage around. I know Dan managed to pick up a few cool pieces, and I picked up one item which was a reissue of the King Walder Jr. figure, which I'll show you in a minute. After we finished off at the flea market, we then headed on over to Nakano Broadway and had another couple of hours of rummaging around all the stalls there. We also met up with January from Tokyo Toy Banzai. It was a great day, lots of rummaging, lots of things to find, and I came back with quite a few nice items. So let's take a look at what I found. So first up was this, which is the King Walder Jr. This is a reissue from the year 2000. So for those of you that don't know, this is from the Cyborgs toy line. In the UK we call it Cyborgs. In Japan it's either the Henshin Cyborgs or the Shonen Cyborgs, depending on their size. This is a Shonen Cyborg. He has been reissued in this yellow plastic. Now I do already have a few of these, but it was such a good price I thought I would grab it again. He cost me 3,000 yen, and I always carry with me this handy little conversion chart so I can actually work out how much these things are sort of on the fly. So 3,000 yen is about £16, which is an absolute bargain. As I say, I already have one of these, but I'm actually going to take this apart because I need some pieces from this figure to fix up another one, so I couldn't leave that behind for 3,000 yen. Then when we headed over to Nakano Broadway, I picked up some nice items as well. Another Cyborg, so this is another Shonen Cyborg. This is a vintage original one. He cost me about 4,500 yen. So if we look at here, that's about sort of £23. He is broken, both of his arms are snapped off, but it comes in the original box with all of the original paperwork, and that's what I wanted because I don't have a box, and I think I've probably got enough parts that I can fix this guy up anyway. So he was a great thing to find. I'm really pleased with this, and I will be showing this in a future video here on toy-polloi when I get him all fixed up. But yeah, for that much money I couldn't leave that behind. I also found this, which is the retro collection versions of Forlom and Zuckus. I've not been able to find this in the UK, so when I saw it there for 3,500 yen, it was well worth getting. And as I've already showed you on my card, we can work out that 3,500 yen is about £18. So I actually think that was a pretty good deal. I will be opening those as well because I've opened all of my figures, but it's one that I didn't have. So that was a really nice find. And then in a sort of 100 yen rummage box, Jeremy from Tokyo Toy Banzai found this, which is, I think they're called sort of sky fairies or something like that. This is a toy that spins around and flies. There's supposed to be a device that sort of plugs into the bottom that spins it around. But this is a Gachapon Battle of the Planets version of it. I have never seen this before. He's pretty damaged and pretty beaten up, bits of his beak are missing there, but for 100 yen, which works out at about 50p, I couldn't leave that behind. I'm going to see what I can do to fix him up, but even just as a broken toy like this, is quite an oddity in my collection, so well worth getting. So those were my pickups for the day. 4 little things, but they're 4 great things for the collection. I also did a little swap with Dan as well, because it was the first time we'd actually met up in person. So I bought him a copy of the toy-polloi annual, and he gave me a few bits as well. So let's take a look at those. So these are the pieces that Dan very kindly gave me. As you can see, it's a mixture of some vintage figures and a new figure as well from him, and some Toy Galaxy and Secret Galaxy pins. So let's first up take a look in this bag, which has got some real gems in it. He gave me 2 figures to go with the Mile of Mayhem project. If you haven't seen that project, then head on over to my second channel, toy-polloi 2, and you'll see what that is all about. So 2 more miles for the Mile of Mayhem. There are also a couple of Fisher-Price Adventure People figures, neither of which I have, which is fantastic. So these are going to go straight with my collection. We have the sort of medical pilot. Now I do have plenty of versions of the medical pilot, but I don't have one with black gloves and black shoes. All the ones that I have the short sleeve top on, so that is a figure that I did need. And then this is the sort of TV producer guy, again one that I don't have. He's pretty dirty and pretty sort of messy, but he can be cleaned up. And then we have this, which is an SRL Hero, or Tiny Tuffy. I think I'm probably the only person in the world who collects these, and Dan thought the same. So he said he'd found this one years ago and had put it by for me. So that was great. So those are really lovely figures. He also gave me this, which is a figure that he has done as a collaboration. It still needs putting together. It's got a different head and different sort of legs and pieces to attach. So I need to actually put that guy together, and that's going to be a fun little project. I think his head is here actually. So there is the alternate head, but this is a collaboration that he has been working on, so looking forward to getting that one put together. And as I say, there are a couple of pins which will look absolutely fantastic on the nerd vest. So these are Toy Galaxy Secret Galaxy pins, so I will be adding those to one or a couple of, at least, of my nerd vests. So if you see me out and about, you may be able to spot these pins in future. You'll see Gachapon machines pretty much everywhere you go in Japan, and it's really hard to resist putting some money in and buying one of the little toys that they have. And I have to say, I bought quite a few. My favourite are the ones that I'm going to show you in a minute. Basically, you put a few coins in, you turn the handle and a ball comes out, and you randomly get one of the toys from that selection. So basically it is a bit hit and miss, and you don't always get the one that you want. But as you can see, this is a selection of some of the ones that I picked up. The video I just showed you there, I was actually going for these Star Wars pins. I got this really rather cool Jedi one. In fact, I got this one twice, and the third go I got this one, which I believe is the Sith pin. As you can see though, none of these have the Gachapon balls with them, and that's because I ran out of space in my luggage, so I had to jettison all of the balls and just keep the prizes. Another really cool one that I got was this, which was a little light up sort of Tokyo Metro sign. I was really pleased to get this one because this is actually the one that I wanted. I put my coins in and it was the first one that came out. It's a little light up thing, so if I switch the light on there, actually it's got a little tag in there, so you can see that is now lighting up. It's also magnetic as well, so you can click that onto your fridge. I was really pleased with that one. I've also picked up this one, which is just a nice little oddity. Because you travel by train a lot, you get very used to sort of holding onto the sort of handrails in the trains, which are these loops, and they had this little one here, which is a sort of businessman cat hanging in one of those loops, carrying a little briefcase. I just thought that was pretty cute, and as I like cats, I had to grab one of those. I did get quite a few others. There's some liquor shoes and some other bits and bobs. I'm not going to show you all of them. Basically, if you go to Japan, you will see lots of them. Just pick and choose the ones that you want. I did manage to pick this up in a 100 yen shop. This was a nice little sort of on-air sign, which I think I'm going to modify and somehow fit it to my door. This, as I say, was 100 yen. It doesn't come with any batteries, but it's got a little on-off switch there. I'm going to work out how I can actually sort of wire that in so that I can show Mrs. Toy-polloi when I am working. I think that was quite good for 100 yen. Also, in a fabric shop, I found these two rather cool sew-on patches or iron-on patches, which again are things I'm going to add to my nerd vest. We've got a Rebel insignia there and a rather cute little R2-D2. Very nice items, and as I say, say, those will be added to a couple of my nerd vests. But essentially, as you walk around Japan, you will see absolutely loads of these Gachapon machines. Just take a look at them. There are so many to choose from, and you'll be hard pushed not to at least come back with a sort of a bag full of them, which is what we do every time we go. You'll hear people talk about Mandarake a lot if you go to Japan. There are quite a few of their stalls around Tokyo. There's one in Akihabara, there's a few around Nakano Broadway, and there's a couple of others dotted about around Tokyo. And luckily, the area that we stay in, Ikebukuro, there is a little hidden gem of a Mandarake, which is only about 5 to 10 minutes walk from the hotel that we stay at. You walk down the Wee Road, turn quickly left, and there's a Parco building, and in the basement of that you will find a Mandarake. And so because it's so close to the hotel, I popped in there pretty much every other day. This time though, I didn't actually get that much from this Mandarake. I picked up one thing for myself. I also picked up one thing for Jeremy from Tokyo Toy Banzai, and also a figure that Dan Larson was searching for. But for myself, I got this. This cost me 1,000 yen, which is about £5, and this is the head for a Henshin cyborg, which is the cyborgs that I've already shown you in this video, and I'll actually be showing you another one a bit later on. This is from the year 2000, I think, or 2003. It's a sort of reissue head made in a pink flesh coloured plastic, and for 1,000 yen it was well worth getting. This was a mail away offer, so you'd send off for it, which is why it's in this little baggie. I will most likely open up this baggie because I want to use this head on a figure. I couldn't resist getting it for that price. I think they go for far more if you see them elsewhere, but that was my one little sort of gem found in this hidden away Mandarake. But if you are in Tokyo, do check them all out. The one in Shibuya is pretty good, but this one in Ikebukuro is especially good because not that many people know of it, and so you get a lot of good things just sort of left on the shelves there. It's well worth checking out. I'd arranged to meet up with fellow YouTuber Phil, who runs the YouTube channel Treasures for Trigger, and he wanted to show me a few different shops that I may not have known about before, and I have to say a couple of them I didn't. So we met up at Ueno and walked all the way down to Akihabara, and along the way stopped in quite a few different shops. The first shop we stopped in, that was one that I had heard about but I hadn't been to, was a place called Mercury Red. It mainly sells Western and American toys, so we had a good search around that, and I found one really cool thing that I hadn't got in my collection, which is a couple of pit droids from episode 1. We then headed to a small hobby off, which I'd also not been to before, and I managed to pick up a little Microman as well, which is always good to add to the collection. After that, we did walk all the way down to Akihabara and went in most of the good stalls down there, but I have to say there wasn't much for me that day. Prices always seem to be a bit high because it's such a touristy area, but it's still fun to look around and see what is available. We then did have a nice sit down as well, and I managed to have a really nice long chat with Phil, and we swapped a few bits as well. So let's take a look at the pieces I picked up and the bits that I got off Phil. So first up, I picked up this, which is a 2-pack of the pit droids from episode 1. I think this is the last of the figures I need to get from episode 1, and it's one I've been trying to get for years. I just never seem to see it. As you can see here, it was 1,400 yen, which works out at about, looking at my little guide here, about £7.50, which I think is pretty good value for this set. It is one of the harder ones to find. I will be opening this because I want to add this to my loose collection, but very nice and very pleasing to find that. And in the hobby off, I found this, which is a Microman Hoodman. You don't see the Hoodmen particularly often, especially not with the case. This was on sale for what was that, 3,300 yen, so it's about 15-16 pounds, which is a really good price for this figure. Let's just open it up because I haven't actually opened this up since I bought it, so I'll have a look and see what he looks like. Oh yes, a very nice figure indeed. These are slightly smaller than the other sort of Micronauts and Micromen figures, and he comes with a set of wings that fit onto the back of his body there. If I turn that round, that should just clip onto that. A really nice little figure, and quite a unique one, and one that I don't currently have in my collection, so very pleasing to find him, and the fact he comes with this case is an added bonus. And then, as I say, we did a little trade and a little swap. I gave Phil a copy of the toy-polloi annual, and he gave me a patch to add to my nerd vest. I've got quite a lot of new patches and badges to add to the nerd vest. There's going to be a lot of sewing going on. That is really nice. He also gave me these two sort of miniature G.I. Joe figures. These were from Takara, and I think it says here on the box, released in 2004. So we have the Action Marine and the Action Sailor. They're little mini versions of the original G.I. Joes that come with their boxes. But I think my favourite thing that Phil gave me is actually this. He messaged me to say, do I prefer Decepticons or Autobots? I said Decepticons, and he brought along this, which is another Gachapon ball, and inside it is this, which is a metal Decepticon ring. Now these were released for the Rise of the Beasts movie. It is metal and it is really rather heavy. I have to say, on the day I did put this on my finger and was a little bit concerned because I actually got it stuck on there, so I'm not going to put it on again. I'll put it on my little finger. So you can see we have a Decepticon logo ring there, and Phil also very kindly gave me the Autobot one as well. So these are pretty unique things. You can hear they're metal. I've never seen these before, but they are going to look absolutely excellent with the rest of my Transformer collection. I think I'll just rest them in front of a few figures. So it was really lovely to finally get to meet up with Phil, and if you haven't checked out his channel, I'll put a link to that in the description. My good friend Uichi, who used to have the Toy Cat Showcase shop in Kichijoji, very kindly invited me along to the Superfest Toy Fair that was happening while we were there. He very kindly managed to get me a dealer pass, which is actually a pretty cool pass, which I've now stuck onto one of my nerd vests. This allowed me to get into the event for free, and I have to say it was an absolutely amazing event. There were so many toy stalls there and so many people. It was probably the most crowded event that I have ever been to. You just had to squeeze your way around, and there were so many toys to be found, and I did manage to pick up a couple of little gems to add to my collection. The first thing I picked up was actually this, which is a reissue of a Microman figure. This is the Barefoot Microman. It's a figure that I absolutely love. For some reason I really love the orange versions. This is a guy called John. He is M104. I've already got this loose, but I don't have a carded version. This reissue is from 1998, so it's actually more than 25 years old. I paid 5,000 yen for this, which is a bit on the high side. It's about £26, but it's one that I wanted to add to my collection, so I was happy to pay it. And as you can see, it's a really nice item and it will look really good on display with the rest of my Microman figures. In a little rummage box, I found this, which is actually the head of the horse that should go along with Kotetsu Jeeg. I don't actually have the rest of the horse. I have Jeeg himself, but this was 300 yen, so that's about £1.50. So I picked that up. At some point in the future I may find the rest of the horse, but for now I'm happy with that. Needs a good clean, but yeah, a nice little item. And then just as we were leaving, I saw one thing that I knew I had to grab, and that was this. And this is a vehicle from Gachapon, or Battle of the Planets. You don't see Battle of the Planets at Gachapon Toys that often in Japan at an affordable price. And this was on a stall for 3,000 yen. And it was 3,000 yen because it is broken. You can see the wings don't work. In fact, this lever at the back should enable the landing gear to go up and down. But in the bag that this came with were the broken pieces. There's a spring and a couple of bits of plastic. So I'm hoping in future I can actually fix this and get it working again. It's just screwed together at the bottom, so I think I should be able to get that apart, and I'm hoping, as I say, that I will be able to work out how to get this sort of working again. Even if it doesn't end up working, it's still a really nice item. You just don't see these particularly often at all. This is a made in Japan toy. I can't remember the name of the company that made these, but I'll put up a box or something if I manage to find some information about it. But yeah, that was really very pleasing to find. It was 3,000 yen, which I think, looking at my little notes here, is about £15. So yeah, for a broken Gachapon toy, that is well worth getting. We also met up with Uichi and his family in the evening and did a little trade. So let me show you the pieces that I got off Uichi then. First up, Uichi gave me this, which is absolutely amazing. So this is King Walder. If you collect Henshin Cyborgs, this is the sort of the enemy of this Cyborgs. In the UK, this was released as a smaller figure called a Muton. In fact, if I bring in the figure that I showed you earlier in the video, this is the King Walder Jr. You can see this is the size that the figure was released here in the UK, and this is the 12-inch version that they got in Japan. It's basically an Action Man or a G.I. Joe body cast in clear plastic with some extra pieces inside to show sort of guts. He's got this rather cool sort of mutant head, and inside there is a brain as well. You can remove this plastic head. But the great thing about these toys is that they came with all sorts of costumes, and last year Uichi gave me part of a costume, and this year he said he'd found the arms for it. So this is the arms for the costume that I got last year. And the idea with these figures is that you pull the sort of the limbs off, so you can pull these arms off there, and then you can swap on these replacement parts and make them look like other characters. It really is a very cool toy indeed, so I'm very pleased to have that in my collection. I already have some Henshin Cyborgs, but I don't have King Walder, so that is a nice piece to add to my collection. But I think my favourite thing that Uichi gave me is this. Now this is a Microman. This is a Command Series figure. This is M153 Elder. But what is so cool about it is if we turn it over, you can see it has been signed to me from the creator of Microman himself, which is a guy called Iwakichi Ogawa, and he is a pretty sort of famous toy designer in Japan. So to have a signed piece like this in my collection is absolutely fantastic, and Uichi even gave me a photo of him signing this very toy for me, so that is absolutely amazing. So as always, it is absolutely fantastic to meet up with friends while you're traveling, and it's really nice to be able to do trade. So I gave Uichi a whole load of pieces for his collection, and these are the bits that he gave to me. So this is lovely, really very fantastic. I of course met up with Jeremy from Tokyo Toy Banzai. We meet up every year and always do a trade of sort of weird and wonderful things, and this time Jeremy gave me a whole selection of real sort of oddities. I'm still trying to work out what all of them are. I think my favourites though are these two little sort of rubber transformers. So we've got Bumblebee and Soundwave here. These are little rubber toys made in 2024, so fairly modern, but you can see they're made out of all sorts of little pieces that you sort of plug together, and they are in a G1 style. I think those are really very nice indeed, and they're going to look excellent with my Transformers collection. Also got this quite nice sort of super deformed Ultraman Sotheby figure, which is really very nice indeed. Another Mego Eagle Force figure to grow with my slowly growing collection, and then a selection of other sort of weird and wonderful Japanese toys. This one is probably the most intriguing. Apparently this is a wind-up Godzilla that's supposed to sort of pop out of an egg, but unfortunately the mechanism doesn't work, so you can just about see Godzilla inside there, which is a sort of clear orange plastic, but yeah, it doesn't work, it doesn't open, so that's going to be a fun little project for me. And then we've got some of these little Gundam model kits as well, so some really nice items and things that I'm going to have to sort of play with and put together in future, and some things I need to fix. So there we go, that is it for my Tokyo toy hunting trip this year. As you can see, I picked up a whole load of good pieces. In fact, there are more pieces than this. This is just the sort of the highlights of the bits that I managed to find. It's always an amazing place to go. There's so many things to see and there's so many cool toys to buy. I've not done a full travelogue video this year because at the moment I think there's actually quite a glut of those sorts of videos on YouTube. So this is really just my highlights of what I saw, who I met and what I managed to buy. Hopefully this video has been of interest to you. If you want to check out some of my previous trips to Tokyo, I will put a link to all of those in the description. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, then make sure to check out some of my previous trips to Tokyo. I've been there many times and I've shown many different things over the years. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And if you've really enjoyed it and want to help me out here at toy-polloi, then why not think about becoming a Patreon of the channel. You get early access to all of my restoration videos, plus access to an exclusive video series called On the Cutting Mat and other exclusive posts. So have a think about that, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.